Okay. I think this is the thing. I'm gonna share this really quickly. Oh shit. Am I live? Can anyone see my laptop, my desktop? Cool. Can you see my desktop? Cool. Okay. Let me get some stuff set up and I'll start momentarily. Dude. God damn, dude. Okay. Well, shit. Alright, these links are being weird. So I'm gonna go ahead and start. I know I was asking about if you could see me or not, because on the preview that it's showing me over here, it's not really showing me much, so it seems like it's not really working. So let me try one more thing, and then I'll begin. Feel free to share this link, really, with whoever. I'm not, too busy, rather. Come on, post. Alright, you know what? I give up. Fuck it. It's not working. Okay. Alright. Okay, so what I wanted to do is do like a vlog and kind of draw also while doing it. So, this is an unfinished drawing that I haven't done quite just yet. And I wanted to kind of time myself and see how much I could get done in, 15 minutes. So we'll see. There's a character for a comic book that I'm doing. It's about a pig that can talk. It's, like comedy horror. I'm gonna wait till it's, a full minute so that way I can start drawing. But I want to do about 15 minutes, see what I can get done. I do have links for the first chapter, but I want to go back and edit it since I'm currently working on the second chapter and want to release both simultaneously to kind of, get the hype started or whatever. Just a little background. Okay, I'm gonna start now, officially. So that's kind of like what's up with the character. They are, I guess like non-binary, gender fluid, whatever the fuck character. That's what they kind of identify as. Probably more feminine and use female pronouns. That's kind of their whole shtick. Her name is Mimi, and she just found the pig, and the pig can talk. Um, but speaking on as far as or like sexual minorities and gender minorities and things of that nature, I kind of wanted to talk about like a personal experience of mine. Of course, if you guys have questions, I will answer those. But since this will be archived, I kind of wanted to give people who listen to this later something to listen to. I had like music in the past, but my videos kept getting blocked, which was fucking annoying. So I decided to not do that this time around. But yeah, so I want to talk about like my own personal experience. I don't want to get too in depth into it, but I wanted to talk about my experiences coming out as homosexual. Considering it's like kind of a big fucking deal for me anyway. Just like a good portion of my upbringing, I was very much in the closet, and so much so that I don't even think I would have considered myself a sexual person. So it wasn't up until later, post high school, that I really started to kind of understand what it meant to be gay. But it's not like I didn't necessarily not know. It's just when you're in denial about something, your mind does like the craziest fucking like backflips to kind of make like justify the reality that you're in. And that, yeah, it was just kind of like a sad moment in time for me. But I'm kind of over it now, so it is what it is. But yeah, after I had kind of came out to myself, which is kind of the most important part about coming out, is coming out to yourself. I had to come out to my friends, and thankfully for me, pretty much all of my friends loved and accepted me. It didn't really fucking matter, which is cool. But then it came to my family, and holy shit, man, that shit was whack. My family was not the accepting type. When I did end up coming out to my family, I was actually really drunk. I had like a little small party at my house, and people can attest that it was a fucking disaster and a sham. But it was a learning lesson, and it is what it is. Ultimately, after like getting fucking trashed, I ended up coming out to my family later on that night. And the worst part about that was like it kind of like me being so trashed and drunk and all this other shit made my family think that I kind of just like getting wasted all the time. So they kind of had that impression of me when they confronted like my behavior that night when I got, really shit faced at my house. Which I don't like getting shit faced, and since then, I'm not really a fan of drinking. So like even before that, drinking I never really enjoyed as much as other things. It's not my preferred method of turning up. But it is what it is. Definitely social lubricant. So I go and I'm like drunk as fuck, and I tell my family that something's been bothering me because they kind of wanted to know like what was up with my behavior that night. And just a little backstory on my family. They're like incredibly conservative, like Trump supporting type conservative. And that for a long time kind of prevented me from coming out and letting them know what necessarily was going on in my life and things of that nature. And it's something that has occurred now, but without getting too into it, my family, even after I came out to them, their initial reaction wasn't one of like hate or disgust. And this is something that I feel like I want to kind of elaborate on, considering that I feel like a lot of people on YouTube or just people in general that I see on the internet are kind of like they're very fortunate. Like their coming out stories are always really nice and sweet and all this other shit. And mine was just not like that at all. Like mine was very well. When I ended up telling them, they pretty much were just like, okay, well, we don't accept that, which fucking sucks. It's like a really bittersweet moment. You know, you kind of have this idea in your head that like it'll either be really dramatic or they'll love and accept you. Like regardless of what the turnout will be, you usually kind of anticipate that it'll be dramatic, at least in some form or another. And that was not the case with my family. They were just like, okay, well, you know, we don't accept that, but you know, we still love you, which was like as much as it was a slap to the face, it was also a sigh of relief, you know. Which you know, I am fortunate enough to have family that um, allows me to, or rather, they, you know, didn't kick me out. You know, I was fortunate enough for that, but at the same time, it's bittersweet because they also are like, for the most part, homophobic, and you know, I kind of wanted to tackle that as something of an issue. Um, you know, when people say that they don't accept homosexuality or things like that, they can never really do it without resorting to like these fucking weird ass logical loopholes. Like like if it's not because of their religion, they think that it's something of like an opinion, like a political opinion to say that like they it's just not some like it's like they don't like spicy food. And indeed, everyone is somewhat entitled to their opinion, but you also, if you're going to have that opinion, need to own up to the fact that it is a homophobic opinion. Like, you know, you can't kind of unmarry the two just because you say like, you say that it's not. Like, they'll say, well, it's just my opinion. Okay, well, your opinion is homophobic. Like, there's no, there's no way around that. It just is, you know? Like that's not like you can't unmarry the two. It's just not how it works. Or a good majority of the time, you know, they'll say that, you know, it's not so much about gays, but that they don't want to see gay people being married or something stupid about like the sanctity of marriage, which like spoiler alert, not all gay people want to be married. So, you know, it's just this weird kind of like dialogue that I feel like a lot of homophobic people like kind of practice. It's like a practiced dialogue that they kind of, I don't know, like they feel is somewhat just. Like they've already have the argument in their head, so they kind of just regurgitate this kind of these ideas that they see as not being homophobic, which is more or less what my family does. They're just like, well, it's just our opinion. That's just how we think. Versus, hey, I just feel uncomfortable around homosexuals, which makes me a homophobic person. And you know that, like at the end of the day, like any way you slice it, that's how the fuck it. That's what the fuck it is. Like it's homophobic. And, you know, it's pretty unfortunate. I feel like us as a society need to do better as far as what we consider like empathy and like how we practice that with one another, because we have people who are, you know, who are murderers, who are like rapists and pedophiles, and they don't experience the same kind of scrutiny, like social scrutiny, as some like sexual minority groups, because some people, and the reason why I'm comparing the two is only because other religious folk will do the same thing. I don't believe that like pedophiles and murderers are the same thing as homosexuals, but that is unfortunately what, you know, a lot of religious people do, is they kind of equate them to be the same thing. So they kind of have this like scarce amount of empathy. Like, oh, well, everything is equal in eyes of God, so I get to be like I get to, pick and choose what I deem more acceptable than the other one. And that it's crazy because like homosexuality is not at all whatsoever relatable to like pedophilia or big crimes as such. Like that's not they're not one and the same. They're not at all related. But there's people who really do genuinely believe that they are, and that is homophobic. So it is what it is. You know, I just feel like people should practice being more empathetic, because really, like, being gay is, you know, sometimes a small portion of a lot of people's lives. Sometimes certain gay people wouldn't even want to engage with mainstream homosexual culture um, because they don't feel like it fits them. So, there's kind of like this lumping of gay people that occurs. Um, and this is all things that I figured out as I came out to more and more people. Um, you know, like, I don't know, like, you kind of see other people's experiences and what they go through and how people react and what language people use. And honestly, like, language is very telling on people's opinions and how they center themselves in the world. When people use certain language, it goes to show you, like, it kind of exposes what kind of reality they exist in. I say this in like a very like I don't want to say Taoist, but in a Taoist kind of fashion, like how people experience the world is kind of almost exclusively done through the kind of words that they use. Like an effective person will use different language than someone who's ineffective. I don't know if that makes sense, but if you say you can't is different than somebody who says that you won't. And those kind of words, believe it or not, are indicative of the kind of reality people kind of set themselves in. So as this pertains to like homophobia, certain people say that like they can't accept homosexuality, which is such a fucking cop out. Like you just choose not to. But some people who especially are religious based individuals feel as if their religion is like homophobia is an integral part of their religion. Like this is just like you can't be Christian without being homophobic, which in my eyes I agree with those people. Like I do feel as if religion promotes like homophobia just in general. Like it's something that in these cases you kind of can't unmarry them because of how deeply rooted it is and seated in the religion itself. So I understand that to an extent, but there are people who are part of religious groups who don't necessarily feel that way. Now, as it pertains to like moving forward and being progressive, there are people who want to kind of keep, and this is I guess what I would consider relabeling people who are conservatives. Those people really feel like they're trying to conserve an older way of thinking and existing when it's really more of a traditional mindset of being a traditionalist versus a conservative. Like you're not really like you feel like you're trying to conserve an older way of thinking when in reality the way that you're thinking is more of a traditional way of existing versus someone who's progressive, who you could consider a progressive who wants to push and move society in new directions. Um, but yeah, these are all things that like get more and more complicated as you dissect them. And I guess I'll just kind of leave it to you guys to figure out, where it is that you find yourself in the world, um, and how you relate yourself to things. That's kind of how I feel. Hopefully one day my family will, you know, become more accepting of me, because if they don't, they're gonna miss out on a good portion of my life. Like, and I've told them that, like I might find love someday. I don't now because I'm like a baby hoe, and I low key am completely a monster or some shit. Like, like people can't really relate to me sometimes, but what happens when I do find somebody? Um, like, are they just not like I wouldn't invite them to my wedding. Not really. I might consider it, but like why would I want them there to begin with if they're just going to be judgmental the whole time? Anyway, guys, it's been 15 minutes now, yeah, just about. I'm going to end the live stream. This is essentially what I got done in this live stream in the span of 15 minutes. It came out kind of the way I wanted it to. I might go back and re-edit this. It's essentially looking pretty good. I'm not displeased with the results. Might add some details. Who knows? But anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys later, and goodbye.